Hi, this is Kerry Shamblin with a weekly astrology update for October 16th through the 22nd. We start this week with the moon waning. And what's on my mind the most is how Mars moved signs on October 15th, which was Saturday. So as Mars moved into Gemini from Taurus, the moon was right with Mars. And so through today, on Sunday, we're going to have the moon and Mars in Gemini. So why this seems significant is that this week is the last week that we're going to have Saturn in retrograde. So at the end of this week, on Saturday the 22nd, Saturn will begin direct motion again. And Mars has moved into Gemini just for a month. So it looks to me like this month between mid-October and mid-November could be very, very active because of this Mars transit. What's going to happen is Mars goes just a little bit into Gemini. And then on October 30th, we'll go into retrograde motion and then head back into Taurus on November 13th. Continue in retrograde motion until January mid, and then resume direct motion there and remain in Taurus in direct motion through March 12th. So this is important because this is a lot of time for one planet, especially Mars, to be in a sign. So this month, from mid-October to mid-November, we get Mars in a new environment and then turning retrograde. So what I think this means is that we have the opportunity to kind of recalibrate, reassess, reanalyze our planning. And this month could be a time where we really sort of rework some of our ideas. We may have been really resistant to changing something. And this is the time where we may be able to see that we can change a few things. So keep an eye on sort of sudden shifts that happen this week. It could be because of Mars moving into Gemini, where he's going to aspect other signs and open up other doors. So check that out. Now, the moon keeps waning. Monday through Wednesday, the moon is going to be going through the sign of Cancer. And this is a great thing. The moon is wonderful in Cancer, but it is waning, and Cancer right now is getting the aspect of that retrograde Saturn. So, again, we may feel sort of pressed to be mentally copacetic with how things are going this week. So just hang in there. Thursday and Friday, the moon will move to Leo, which could seem better because Cancer's not aspecting Leo, but Rahu is aspecting Leo. So this may be a tough week as we have the moon waning and going through some good signs with difficult aspects. So that's on the radar. And then after today, we're getting a bunch of shifts. Monday, the sun is going to be moving out of Virgo and into the sign of Libra. So that is opening up our eclipse season. We're going to have a pair of eclipses on October 25th when the sun gets partially eclipsed in the sign of Libra. And then we're going to have a follow-up pairing, eclipse pairing in November 7th through the 8th when the moon gets totally eclipsed in the sign of Aries. So, don't be scared. Eclipses happen. It's a natural thing that happens twice a year, right on schedule. And really what eclipses are is that nodal axis, Rahu and Ketu, lining up with the sun and the moon, which happens twice a year, wherever Rahu and Ketu happen to be. So these eclipses are just a temporary moment when those shadow planets, Rahu and Ketu, are taking over the sun and moon's job, which is being light. So there's a moment of shadow. I think a good idea to deal with eclipses to realize, like, okay, we're kind of shutting down for a minute here. Let's take a pause and maybe see things in a different way. So anyway, that first eclipse is October 25th, not this week. But the sun does go into Libra. This is the sign of debilitation for the sun. The day after, on Tuesday, October 18th, Venus, who's been very close to the sun in what a state of combustion is what we call when a planet gets very close to the sun and we can't see that planet anymore because the sun is so bright. So Venus is following the sun. And that move comes on the next day on the 18th. So the sun is debilitated in the sign of Libra, but Venus rules the sign of Libra. And Venus is combust. So it's kind of a confusing situation. There could be some in that month ahead with sun in Libra from October 17th to mid-November. Again, we're at mid-November as a point. There could be a lot of action in the sense of relationships and trying to balance the dynamic between personal needs and what's required to be in relationship with another person or a group of people. So that is ahead. And then on Saturday, Saturn will go direct. In the past few months, we've had both Jupiter and Saturn in retrograde motion. Retrograde motion happens for those two outer planets every year for a certain amount of time. At this time, they're both doing it around the same time. And it's been sort of intense with having Saturn aspecting Jupiter, both of them in retrograde motion and both of them in their own signs, which makes them strong. So it's been, as this retrograde gets deeper and deeper, it seems it's really turning up some things for a lot of people. So with Saturn going to direct motion, that may be good for some people and more challenging for other people. But it may also be a little less confusing with the aspect of Saturn on Jupiter. So Jupiter will be assuming direct motion on November 23rd. So realize that this has been kind of an intense transit over the summer with these two outer planets in this type of configuration. So let's see what happens after Saturday when Saturn goes into direct motion. That might change some things for some people. Saturday is also a Dhanteras, which is the first day of Diwali, which many celebrate in India and around the world. So for those of you who celebrate Diwali, Happy Diwali. May it be a season of light and hope and peace. Thank you. Talk to you next week.